You got to wear trousers, you got to wear a shirt, and your shirt must be tucked inside. That is the civilized way of dressing. I say that's arrogance. Yeah. I can't dress the way I want. Oh, it's curry, fish, and rice. And I roll up my sleeve and wash my hands to eat my curry, fish, and rice. And he says to me, "You're a barbarian. Civilized people don't eat food like that. To be civilized, you must have cutlery. And you must eat like this. And this must be in the right hand, and this." This is arrogance. That's Santa Claus Christianity. That's the Western world. But is Russia like that? Is Greece like that? Is Orthodox Christianity like that? It is your Quran which is speaking to you tonight. Your Quran. وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. They are not an arrogant people. They are a Christian people. They will be the closest in love and affection for you, Muslims, at that time when these have the greatest hostility for you. Ask the Kashmiri women who are being gang raped. Ask them and they'll tell you who have the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for you. These who are not an arrogant people. And so it's plain and as clear as daylight that Allah is talking about the Orthodox Christians. In Russia, most of all. Thanks to the Ottoman Empire, Dajjal's Ottoman Empire, the people of Rome have the greatest hatred for us today. Because the Ottoman Empire waged bogus jihad on them for 500 years. The Ottoman Empire would defeat them, and then as part of the agreement for ceasefire, they will not only have to pay a tribute, anfal, but they'll have to hand over a certain number of Christian boys. You know that. And then the Ottoman Empire would shamefully and disgracefully convert these boys to Islam. Despite Allah speaking in the Quran, there's no compulsion in religion. And then they'll train these boys to become the elite fighting force of the Ottoman Empire, the Janissaries, and use these people to fight their own Christian people. That's what the Ottoman Empire did. That's why they still hate us so much. I don't have the time to keep on with this. But the Quran is the word of Allah. And if Allah says it's going to come to pass, it will come to pass. That they're going to change their attitudes. Imagine my happiness. I gave a lecture on the conquest of Constantinople in Akhiru Zaman about 3 years ago at the International Islamic University in Malaysia. They heard the lecture in Russia. A professor in the State University of Moscow, who is one of Russia's leading thinkers today, he listened to the lecture. And they contacted me and they invited me to come. And I went to Moscow, to the State University of Moscow, which is a leading university in the whole of Russia. And I lectured on Islamic eschatology. And they treated me with respect. More than that, they treated me with affection. More than that, they invited me to come back. More than that, they remarked about the amazing similarity, the wonderful similarity between Islamic eschatology and Christian eschatology. And so the word of Allah must come to pass. And these are the people who are going to be closest in love and affection to us. Not those with whom we are prohibited by Allah to be friends and allies of such people. Not them. These. Now then, It's one thing to be friendly with them, but an alliance? Does the Quran allow us to have an alliance with such people? A military alliance? A political alliance? The surah of the Quran, which is best, most important of all for Akhiru Zaman, is of course Surah Al-Kahf. The surah of Quran which is most important of all for your manners, good manners and so on, Surah Al-Hujurat, domestic life and so on. The surah of the Quran for sexual ethics and so on, Surah An-Nur. The surah of the Quran for dreams and visions, Surah Al-Yusuf. But which is the surah of the Quran for military alliances? Surah Al-Anfal. And when we go to Surah Al-Anfal, verses 72, 73, and 74, one by one they are lined up. Inna alladhina amanu, those who have faith, wahajaru, and who forsake a territory which is waging war on Islam, a territory where a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate, and they make hijrah. Wajahadu, and those who struggle fi sabilillah bi anfusihim, they struggle with their lives, bi amwalihim wa anfusihim, with their wealth and with their lives, fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah. Walladhina awaw wa nasaru, and those who give them shelter. Those who give them, we are the ones who are making the hijrah. We made hijrah to Abyssinia, didn't we? Abyssinia wasn't Muslim, was it? Abyssinia gave us shelter, didn't it? So Allah is talking about a non-Muslim people. وَالَّذِينَ آوَوْا, and those who gave them shelter, وَنَصَرُوهُ, and those who helped them. Listen now to the rest of the ayah. أُولَٰئِكَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ, they are allies of each other. They are allies of each other. So when Abyssinia opened its arms and helped us and welcomed us and gave us shelter, Abyssinia was an ally of us. We were allies, based on the verse of the Quran. Now let's go to 73. الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ, the kuffar, they are allies of each other. Listen carefully now. They are allies of each other. إِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوهُ, if you Muslims do not do the same, if you do not build alliances, takun fitnatun fil ardi wa fasadun kabir, there will be great fitna in the world and great fasad. Fasad is that which corrupts to the extent of destroying. Fitna is tests and trials. If you do not build alliances, this is what's going to happen. If we are to build alliances, the first place to start is inside the house of Islam. Therefore, Sunni, Shia, rapprochement, friendship, and solidarity. Dajjal wants to cause civil war in the house of Islam. Sunni, Shia, civil war. And Santa Claus is always delivering the US dollars, And Santa Claus is always delivering the state-of-the-art weapons and the bombs and so on, so that you can have this masjid is bomb, and that shrine is bomb, and this one is bomb, and that one is, and now ISIS comes along to try to provoke Sunni Shia civil war. That's what Dajjal wants. But if you do not build alliance within the house of Islam, the result is going to be great fitna and great fasad. Which surah of the Quran is this? Suratul Anfal. And when you go home, you're going to check them out. Surah, verse number 72, and this one is 73, and the next one is 74. This is the surah of military alliances and political alliances at all, Suratul Anfal. If you do not build the alliances within the house of Islam, this is the consequence. But alliances is not just within the house of Islam, because those people opened their doors to us in Abyssinia and granted us shelter and helped us. So alliances must also be with people outside of the house of Islam. If you do not do it, this is the consequence. Takun fitnatun fil ardi wa fasadun kabir. If we are to build alliances with people who are not Muslims, who are the first to whom we should turn? You don't need a PhD to answer that. No. You have to turn to those who are the closest in love and affection for you. They are a people who still hold on to monasticism and the monastery. They are a people who are not arrogant. And they are people who, when they were victorious after their defeat, we celebrated. Allah is talking about the Eastern Orthodox Christian world, which today is led by Russia, whether you like it or whether you don't. These are the people with whom we should be looking to build alliances. Isn't it strange that the only Muslim country which is now almost in alliance with Russia is Iran? And the Sunni world has forgotten, somebody should remind them, that the Qibla is in Mecca, not in Washington. That's the Sunni world. It's an embarrassment for me. When I went to Iran 3 times in the last 2-3 years. When I went to Iran, I found that they welcomed me. They treated me with respect and affection. But I didn't cut any corners. I told them, I said to them, that if we are to build friendship and solidarity, Sunni and Shia, not only must the Sunni stop that rubbish of declaring all the Shia to be kuffar, stop that rubbish, and we can stop them. But you Shia also have some homework to do. I said it to them, that the Quran is comprised of 2 parts. Part 1 is the ayat muhkamat, and part 2 the ayat mutashabihat. The ayat muhkamat are plain and clear. But the ayat mutashabihat, you have to give ta'wil. Ta'wil means interpretation. And when you interpret, you have to say, Allah knows best. I can be right, I can be wrong. The ayat muhkamat, Allah says, this is the Ummul Kitab, the heart of the book. And He says, this book has come to explain all things. Tibyanan likulli shay. So this book must tell me who is a Muslim. This book must tell me what are the beliefs I need to be a Muslim. I mustn't go to hadith for that when this book says it explains all things. So the belief system of Islam must come from the Quran. What makes you a Muslim? The Hadith can explain, amplify, but the foundation has to come from the Quran. Not from the mutashabihat, because that is ta'wil. It has to come from the muhkamat. And I say to them, tell me in the muhkamat of the Quran where it is said that Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu is appointed by Allah to succeed the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Tell me where in the Quran. If you are Shia and you're listening, I don't have any boxing gloves on, no. Where in the Quran do you find that Allah is the one who determines leadership, and He has restricted leadership to the house of the Prophet ﷺ? Where is there in the Quran? If it is not in the Quran, you cannot build it from the Hadith, and you cannot use that to divide the house of Islam. Plain talk. And yet they show respect for me and affection for me, because there's no boxing gloves here. No, it's a scholarly discussion. So alliance has to be with Rome, and Iran is the only Muslim country moving clearly in that direction. What about Pakistan? I don't regret using the language I'm going to use now. Not at all. The prostitutes who control political power in Islamabad, the prostitutes who control the Pakistani armed forces, I hope they're listening to me. They're Qibla in Washington, because they want their children to go and study in American universities, and they want to have a villa where they could retire in Miami and Los Angeles. They don't care for Pakistan. They don't care for Islam. For 13 years, they opened the territory of Pakistan shamelessly, so NATO could traverse the territory of Pakistan to carry all their supplies to Afghanistan to kill our innocent brothers and sisters and children. Huh? And then you tell me this is the army that's going to liberate Hind in something called Ghazwatul Hind? Huh? Don't you have any sense? Is that where we are today, the Sunni world? If we are to build an alliance with Rome, it is the Sunni people who will have to act. Go and join, go and travel to the lands of Rome. I'm going back to Moscow, inshallah, in the month of July. And now I'm so happy that Greece has just had a change of government. And the new government in Greece is a government which is friendly to us. Rome is changing. Rome is changing. So if you want to travel, go and travel to the world of Rome, and meet with them, and talk to them, and show them what is in the Quran, and then leave it to Allah to change their hearts. And tomorrow we're going to see the alliance of Rome with the world of Islam. Before I end, I want you to notice something. I have not used a single hadith as yet. I have not touched a single hadith as yet on the subject of alliance with Rome in Akhirul Zaman. I have built my subject solely on the Quran. The reason I have done that is that it is only when you build your subject solidly on the Quran that when you go to hadith, you'll be able to recognize what part of the hadith is authentic and what part is fabricated. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may bless those who now turn to the Book of Allah that the Book of Allah might explain the world to them today and help them to anticipate the world of Islam tomorrow. The world tomorrow. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I'm waiting for the Mahdi.
You're waiting for the Mahdi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mahdi is the one who's going to determine the purity of Islam.
Yeah.
And 75% of them will be rejected. And he's going to accept a large part of people from India and the rest of the Christian world.
Our moderator is coming.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting.
May I answer him?
Yeah, sure.
Please, okay. The Prophet ﷺ was passing by. Some of his companions were talking and he asked, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "We're talking about the signs of the last day." And he said the last day would not come, and then he mentioned 10. These are known as the 10 major signs. Number 1, Dajjal, the Antichrist. Number 2, Gog and Magog. I have a book on Gog and Magog at the back. I'm writing a book on Dajjal, maybe take another 10 years to finish. Number 3, the return of the son of Mary. Number 4, Dukhan, smoke. That's the nuclear war that's coming. My anticipation, I hope I'm wrong, is that nuclear war is coming within the next year or two. That's because I'm studying Islamic eschatology. That's why I can say so. Number 5, Dabbatul Ard, the beast or creature of the land. Number 6, that the sun will rise from the west. Number 7, 8, and 9, 3 earthquakes in which the earth sinks down, swallows what it swallows. 1 in the east, 1 in the west, and third one in Arabia. And number 10, that a fire will come out of Yemen and drive people to their place of assembly. Imam al-Mahdi is not located in these 10. The Quran speaks about which one of these is the sign of all signs, the mother of all signs. That sign around which the whole subject revolves. And it says, وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ, and it can also be read, وَإِنَّهُ لَعَلَمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ, that he, Jesus, meaning the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, this is the mother of all signs of Akhiru Zaman. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the advent of Imam al-Mahdi. I'm going to use a big word now, a big word. The advent of Imam al-Mahdi as an event which will be contemporaneous, meaning occurring at the same time with the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. Jesus cannot return until Dajjal has completed his mission. He is the false Messiah. He cannot complete his mission until Israel has replaced the United States as the next ruling state in the world, and Pax Judaica has replaced Pax Americana. Israel cannot rule the world as presently constituted. Israel needs a substantial reduction in the population of the world. How is that substantial reduction in the world population to be achieved? Easy. Get them to fight each other. Nuclear war. So Israel and the Zionists want the nuclear war because they will mutually destroy each other, and a large part of humanity, mostly Western civilization, will be destroyed, and a post nuclear war world would be a world that Israel can manage easily. Israel must first replace the United States, Pax Judaica. And at the end of that, a day which is like a week, there's a book at the back entitled Jerusalem in the Quran which explains this subject. Then will come the conquest of Constantinople. It comes after the nuclear war, the Malhama. They were so happy in Russia when they heard me talk about the conquest of Constantinople. Because they say, we also have it in our eschatology. So that one of Sultan Muhammad Fatih in 1452, that's bogus. That's not the one that our Prophet prophesied. After Dajjal, after the conquest of Constantinople, comes the emergence of Dajjal, Khuruj al-Dajjal. And only after Dajjal has emerged could they destroy Masjid al-Aqsa to build their temple. And then Dajjal will declare, I am the Messiah, and so on. And only then will Allah return, cause Nabi Isa alayhi salam to return. So we probably have another 20, 30 years for that. So we probably have another 20, 30 years before Imam al-Mahdi emerges. But don't ask me whether he's born as yet. I don't know. And I'm not arrogant when I say I don't want to know.
You're listening to Radio Al Ansar on 90.4 FM and 105.6 in Pietermaritzburg. We're doing a live broadcast from the Al Ansar Hall of the first of Sheikh Imran Nasser Hussein's lecture tour of Durban. We're busy taking questions and answers. Just a reminder that Isha Azan on the radio has been delayed due to the live broadcast. And for those in the hall, Isha facilities are available downstairs once we conclude this evening's proceedings. Also, the people in the bookshop tell me